Thank you. So we'll start the new questioning around the amount of money that it's going to cost to bring in this national Pharmacare program. The estimates that we have is $20 billion. Candidate Hill has suggested it's going to be $26 billion. We'll start with Candidate Hill. How do you plan on paying for that?
So again, as I mentioned, we do want to look at tax reform overall to ensure an equitable and fair taxation system for everybody in this country. $26.8 billion represents about 8 to 9% of the total federal government's expenditures for the year. So I think we have to keep this in context. It does sound like a very large number. It is a very large number. But overall, it certainly does not come even close to the overall expense that we spend for health care in this country. I believe it's an affordable thing to do if we put our priorities in the right place. Things like buying fighter jets should have a much lower priority than improving the health of Canadians.
Candidate Alghabra, $20 billion was the estimate for your health care program. Would you like to comment on that?
Sure. Let me also take exceptions to the number you used by saying there's only 3% of Canadians who don't have drug coverage. I take exceptions to that. I don't think it's an accurate number, especially when you speak to small business owners who don't have their own Pharmacare drug plan or private health drug plan. So the percentage is much greater than that. And I agree with Chris, is that we need to do something. And governments make priorities. We spend or invest money, whether you do it in tax cuts or whether you do it in implementing infrastructure program or whether you do it in our healthcare system. So we've dedicated $6 billion for the initial phases of negotiating a Pharmacare plan with the provinces. And as I said, it's yet to, once the work out the agreements with the provinces about the final shape and arrangement that this plan will take place, we will have a better sense, but we have dedicated $6 billion for the initial phases.
The concern for business is that this $20 billion or $26 billion is going to come on the backs of business. How do you respond to that?
Who are you asking?
Anybody who wants to respond. You've got a $20 billion price tag on your back, Candidate Alghabra, and Candidate Hill has a $26.8 billion price tag on his back. So I'll go to you, Candidate Alghabra first, Candidate Hill, and then Candidate Ambler.
Let me first again say that I don't necessarily agree with that number, but regardless, the number, whatever is going to be an important service to Canadians that will help them. And again, I agree with Chris. There are Canadians who have to choose between paying their rent or buying their drugs for their kids or for themselves. So it is really important to find a way to help those Canadians. That's the role of a government in society. If you believe in the role of government in ensuring the quality of life of Canadians, in ensuring that it looks after those who are not the most privileged in our society, that's the role of government does. And I think it's premature, or in fact, it's fear-mongering to say that businesses will bear the brunt of that expense. So I take, again, exception to that. But I think the idea here, the principle here is this: where do you see your government playing a role? Is it in the betterment of the quality of life? Is it in the betterment of quality of life for Canadians? And I say yes.
Candidate Hill?
Surely the drug manufacturers are going to be able to reduce prices once you've got a single-payer system there that's going to be purchasing in bulk. Think of all the money they're going to save from those expensive TV marketing campaigns that they run.
Oh, well, you're not allowed. They're not allowed to advertise on TV here in Canada. But
Candidate Ambler?
Yes, I do think the GAPS approach is the best one. So I agree with the CFIB there. But in answer to your question directly, of course, it would be on the backs of businesses. And I think what the Liberals have shown is that they really don't have a lot of respect for business, especially small businesses. In fact, I have the quote here, because we often say that Justin Trudeau calls small business owners tax cheats, but what he actually said was a large percentage of small businesses are actually just ways for wealthier Canadians to save on their taxes, quote unquote. So this is what the Liberals are saying. What they do and what they say are two different things. So actually, one of the reasons why Canadians are so disappointed in the last 4 years of Liberal government, it's because they have no respect for hardworking Canadians. They don't respect entrepreneurs, business owners, and they have no problem saying, oh, yeah, we love the idea of Pharmacare. How are we going to pay for that? $26 billion? Well, we could tax people, but let's go to the businesses first. I have a feeling that's exactly what they're going to do.
Candidate Elzaba?
Just to add to that, I agree with the candidate Ambler. I think it will be on the backs of small businesses, but not only that, it'll be on the backs of the middle class, which is what we've seen time and time again for decades when the government, federal government, makes promises that and starts meddling with provincial jurisdictions. Now, candidate Al-Ghabra actually is right. The government is there to look best interest of the public. However, we are a three-tier government. We have municipal government, we have provincial government, and we have federal government. And right now, it seems that none of these governments are working together in your best interest, in the people's best interest. And with regards to Pharmacare, where are we going to get that money? The question was, how will we pay for it? And neither candidate Hill nor candidate Al-Ghabra answered that question directly. We have deficits. We need to clear those deficits, and we need to move away from generating our main source of revenue from taxing small businesses and taxing the middle class and every class for that matter. We need to start focusing on our natural resources. Ontario alone has gold, has silver, has nickel, has cobalt, and for some reason, we're not able to generate our main source of revenue from our natural resources. We have 70% of the world's freshest water. We still have people without fresh, clean water, and we're not able to exploit and extract that kind of business in order to generate revenue for all three tiers of our government. And so the question was, how will the government pay for this Pharmacare? And the answer was not answered.